What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I'm your host, and welcome to episode 92. 92, my folks. And oh, what an episode this will be. It is going to be jam-packed. We've got a lot to get to, starting with, first and foremost, on the heels of finding out last week that the LA Rams were playoff bound. This week, we got the news we've been waiting for. We found out the seeding and the opponent, and now we know that we will, in fact, get that delectable morsel. We're gonna get that tasty bite. We are gonna get the coup de grace, the pièce de résistance. I'm not sure if these are the right words, but I think we're gonna get it. We are gonna get the LA Rams at the Detroit Lions. Yes, we, the football guys, just had to have it this way, you know. We are going to get the return of Matty from the D, Stafford, back to his ancestral homelands in Detroit, back to the place where the poltergeist was born. We are going to get Matty from the D back in the D, and you know what he's going to do there. We'll get to it. We're going to get that versus the golfer. I can't wait already. I can't wait. The golfer, you know, Jared the golfer would like nothing more than to put an arrow through the heart of McWonder, the man who cast him from the kingdom. This is episode 92. If you go way back to episode 5, it was this very subject. Mr. McWonder was sick and tired of the golfer, and he wanted a divorce. He wanted him out of the kingdom. He was hell-bent on banishing the golfer. And you know what Mr. McWonder wants, he's going to get. No. And in exchange for Jared the golfer discarded, Mr. McWonder gets Matthew Stafford, Matty from the D, the legend. Oh. And, hey, gotta give it to him. They promptly went out and won a Super Bowl. I mean, it was a little bumpy along the way, but hey, they had to, work it all out. And while they, Mr. McWonder and Matty from the D, while they were winning Super Bowls and making pizza commercials and living a LA dream, Jared the golfer had been banished to the outpost, to the wastelands, to the backwoods of the NFL, to Detroit. And the Lions, no less. They hired a coach. The Lions did. Dan Campbell. Big guy, and when they hired him at the press conference, he said, I'll tell you what this team is going to do. We're going to bite kneecaps. And so the kneecap biter was born. And so, McGenius versus the kneecap biter. Matty from the D versus the golfer. And, there's been a lot of, exchange. The GM of the Lions came from the Rams. And, one of their primary wideouts, Josh Reynolds, came from the Rams. And So, he and the golfer have that connection from way back then. Detroit and the knee biter and the golfer, they looked horrible in the beginning. Horrible. Lost a lot of games. But they stuck with it, and bit by bit, they bit kneecap by kneecap, and they started to turn it around in Detroit, and they showed up last year, and they whooped old COVID toe and kept them out of the playoffs, remember? And this year, now, you look and, well, here they are. Big time. First division, they won the division, the North. That first time in 30 plus years, I believe it is. First home game in forever. Home playoff game. And so, the Detroit fans will be rabid, foaming at the mouth, beside themselves. Right? Oh, it's going to be good. And okay. As I said last week, for entertainment purposes only, so, I hope none of you have a problem with, betting and gambling and that kind of mess. But I'd be willing to bet if I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were, I'd be willing to bet old Matty from the D is going to soil the turf there in Detroit. He's going to leave him a haunted gift, at least one. You can almost count on it. I don't think he would be content if he went all the way back to Detroit and didn't leave a haunted gift there. Oh, you're going to see a poltergeist strike. I'd be shocked if you didn't. But despite that, I have hope that the Rams, now currently 3.5 point underdogs, road dogs, I have hope, confidence. I suspect that they can go on the road out to Detroit and, let's get to it a little later. Because what I really want to do this episode, I'm not going to give you a game analysis from the San Francisco game. But that win gets Mr. McGenius to 10. That win actually moves Coach McWonder past Ground Chuck Knox. And now Mr. McWonder sits alone all time in Rams head coaching victories in second place behind only John Robinson. And all he's got to do is just keep going. Next year, he'll pass him. He'll pass John Robinson. Next year, his 8th year, Coach McGenius will be the winningest coach in Rams franchise history anywhere they've been ever. And as I said at least a couple episodes back, he's the finest coach the Rams have ever had. I make no qualm about that. In fact, au contraire, I remember oh so well those long, miserable years of losing with head coaches like Joe Vitt and like Jim Haslett and like Steve Spagnuolo and Scott Linehan, just bad coach after bad coach after bad coach. And then maybe the worst of them all, Jeff, where's the bar Fisher? Oh, I remember oh so well. Lived through years and years of being a Rams fan through the futility of it all. And then the clouds in the skies parted and the light shone through and Mr. McWonder appeared. And he, right from the start, from 2017, the first year he got here, the year I believe you have to say is his finest coaching performance, because he was a brand new rookie head coach, 30 years old, coaching grizzled veterans and old players and millionaires. And he came to a city like Los Angeles, and the team had just arrived from St. Louis, and they were moribund. They were a losing franchise to the foundation, to the core. And that very year, the first year as head coach, Sean McGenius turned that whole thing around and the Rams made the playoffs. And I said, what? Oh, what have we got here? Okay? I believe that was his finest year as a head coach. In fact, they even asked him that because that's the narrative, you see. You know, the lemmings and the ferrets of the broadcast media, they get a narrative. Where it comes from, how it's decreed from who on high, I do not know. But once they get hold to it, it spreads like wildfire and they all start parroting it on every platform they have, saying the same thing. This is Mr. McWonder's finest coaching performance ever. And they finally went and asked him, everyone's saying this, Coach. Do you think this is your finest coaching performance ever? And he was like, well, even he knows that wouldn't be accurate. He said, what I will say is that this is the most fun he's having. And I believe him. And you know what I think, my folks? I think that last year, and just my luck as a season ticket purchaser, that I bought in that year, that 1 year, because it was a stinking mess out there. Oh, but aside from that, he's been above 500 every year. The 1 year, other than the stanker last year, the other year that he missed the playoffs, they were 9-7. My year, they were 5-12. And that's why everyone thought that if you were 5-12 with the talent you had, and you let them all go, and you brought really not a lot in, just rookies and draft picks, and if you were 5-12 last year, what are you going to be this year? And I said it probably will be 4-13, most likely. But the very first game of the season, when they went up to Seattle with the 12s, and they beat them. And they showed, this team was going to play lively, spirited, competitive football. And that victory really shifted the expectation paradigm, at least from this corner of cyberspace. And I began to say, hey, maybe it was addition by subtraction, right? Because, Ashes needed to go. He did. And what about the grill? Cam the Grill Akers. I remember there was a point during the season. Now, losing breeds a lot of that kind of stuff. When you're losing, nobody's happy. The press is looking for somebody to say something, and then they can say, what he said. But I remember the press had a camera in Ash's face, and he said, whatever the problem was with McWonder and the grill, he was down with the grill. And I kind of thought, Ashes and the grill, that goes together. But there was something going on. And then Ashes was gone. And the grill was too, although they tried to hold on to the grill into the early part of the season, But there was something going on, something wrong, right? When you're dealing with all these guys that are making so much money and have been in the league so long and have a claim, but you have to if you're going to assign credit, you have to also assign blame where it is appropriate. And so you have to say it was this philosophy that was being employed, this F them picks. Remember, that was a big thing. Les, the Sneedster, he had it on his t-shirt and his hats, on his mug. He probably trademarked it. F them picks. That was their philosophy. Well, there's a downside that comes with that. There are drawbacks to that kind of thinking. Financial ones, of course, but the people you're bringing into your culture, these are people who have been around and have made a lot of money and have a lot of, they have entourages and they're famous already. And you're bringing them in because they're a big name. And I get it. They had this, Stank, they had this stadium. Right? Billions and billions of dollars, and they were new in the LA market or returning. And they needed a splash. So they went in. Get whoever you can bring them in. OBJ, Von the Space Cowboy. Ooh, bring them in. Anybody, whoever is he, does he have a name? They bring them in. They had this assortment, this collection of guys. And in the process, F them picks. You got no picks. And so when one guy like OBJ breaks down, boom, he's been around, he's got a lot of miles, he breaks down, okay, wow. Then another guy, Von Miller, he gets a bigger, better deal from somebody else after a few months. You're renting them for 3 months, 8 games or whatever it is. You saw at the trading deadline this year, the Rams stayed the hell out of it. They did not dip toes in the trading market this year, did they? And so I thought about all of that now. That's what it is, see? They had to burn some sage up in there. The ashes that were there left were sage for cleansing. They had to get rid of a lot of people and where you've got to give. And again, see, I told you can come here because I'm going to give you the real. I'm not on any payroll. I don't have an agenda. I'm a Rams fan from way back, but I calls them as I sees them. You've given up your picks. You got, multi-million-dollar rentals on the back end of their careers, looking for paydays or ring chasing, and an assortment of various personality types that, in the end, I could understand how that might lead to a less than pleasant work environment, for a young coach. And so you get rid of all that. But where you've got to give credit is Les the Sneedster. They were drafting gems in the late rounds, even though they had thrown all those early picks, those first rounders. They didn't have a first round pick for the better part of a decade. But in the late rounds, he's finding Kyron Williams. In that 5th round, he found K. Will. Give him credit. In the 5th round the next year, he finds Puka Nacua. Now, the most decorated rookie wide receiver in NFL history. Most catches, most yards. Now, fair enough, it was an extra game. I know. McGene said to work, try to get him. It took a minute there to get him that, because you saw as soon as he got that catch he needed to break the record, McGenius was like, please get him out of there right away. But Les Snead drafting well, and I'm sure in conjunction with McWonder, drafting well. And now they've had some misses now. Okay, I admit now. You've had some misses. And you got some guys you drafted or picked up and you just squandered them. You didn't value them for some reason. You let them go and they had the talent if you would have invested in them, I think. And then, other guys, you still have them on the team, but they seem buried for some reason. And then other guys, it's like that's his new toy. They come to town and it's a new guy. And he's the point I'm trying to make, my folks, is it is addition by subtraction. And they asked Mr. McWonder himself, is this your finest coaching performance? And he himself said, well, he said, what I will say is I'm having the most fun. And I believe that, because these are youngsters, the veterans he kept are the ones he likes, who enjoy being there and appreciate the opportunity, the experience. And the youngsters, they'd run through walls for him, and you see that. And so there's value in having youth. When you get to the playoffs, then it might become more of a liability, depending upon, where you have your youngsters stationed. You might get burned in the playoffs in the secondary. Or will there be a drop or two? And so we'll see. We'll see how the young Rams fare. But the point of it all is that we get what we have been hoping for. It is LA versus Detroit. And so for this episode, I don't want to focus too much on the San Francisco game. It was a fluky kind of a game, because it was a situation where it was week 17 and both teams had playoff position sewed up. And so neither team had to risk much. Of course, you always want to win. And, I want to point out, I found it interesting, I'll say anyway, that Father Shanahan made a statement, a point of saying that he wanted to play his players, that he didn't think 2 weeks off because they're going to get the bye, and then this past game, if they didn't play 2 weeks off, he said, no bueno. And so he said, he seemed very stern about it. I want to play my players. Even in a game 17, it didn't have a lot of meaning, right? And so what I found interesting, though, was that, he played most of his players, but he gave 3 of his players, 3 prominent players, 3 starters, frontline names. He gave 3 of them the game off, which will be 2 weeks rest. 3 of them. And another 3 of them, prominent starters, frontline players, important. Those 3, they played. And I found that very interesting. And so he's deciding which of his starters will play and which won't. And so he gives Brock Purdy, his quarterback, he gives him the week off. Don't play. Now, for me, I would have thought maybe he might have been one of the ones you might want to let play. Because, he's had ups and downs. But, hey, lately especially, I'll say, not so much early on. He was lights out. But lately, he's had some bumps and bruises. He said, no. Brock Purdy, he's out. Oh, okay, he's not playing. Sam Darnold will start in place of Purdy. Okay, well, that's your quarterback. I get that. Sure. Okay, so everybody else, though, is playing, right? Well, no, not another guy. We're going to have to hold out CMC, McCaffrey. And besides, he's kind of nursing some things, and he's been in injury, I don't want to say prone. I'll say he's been injury susceptible over his career, and he's got a little something he's nursing. So no, he's out. Okay, well, I get that. Sure, yeah. Okay, so no Purdy, no McCaffrey. Okay, but everybody else is there, right? Well, no, there's another guy. We're gonna keep Kittle out. Kittle too? Kittle too, huh? Yeah. No Kittle. Well, he's been around with us a long time. He knows what we're doing, and he's good. He's fine. Oh. Okay. Well, since you got all those people out, I'm thinking, I know you're not starting Debo, are you? Oh, no. Debo, he's playing. He is? Debo, huh? He's vital to your team. He's been around. He knows he's playing. Oh, and Well, certainly Trent Williams won't be playing. I mean, he's a core to your line. He's your big left tackle. He's your Hall of Famer, future Hall of Fame. Oh, he's out there too. Oh, no, he's playing. Trent Williams is out there blocking, risking possible. He's been hurt. He's been banged up. He's had injury issues, risking that in a game 17 with no meaning. You don't think Trent Williams could use 2 weeks off? Bother? No, he's out there. Oh, well then if Trent Williams is out there and Debo is out there, well, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Ayuk is going to be out there, of course, and he's out there. So I'm like, well, now that's interesting now. Okay, so you want all your players to play, but you're going to give 2 weeks off to Purdy, Kittle, and McCaffrey. And at the same time, Debo and Trent Williams and Ayuk, they're out there running around, slamming in the Rams opponents at full speed, hitting and whatnot. Very interesting. And so all I'll say is, in my experience in this land of America, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, that's a duck, damn it. Father Shanahan and his selective rest. Of course, I have already digressed. I mean, as I say, I will not give you a game analysis, but I will say that San Francisco marched right down that opening drive, put 7 points up on the board, and when the Rams took over on offense, well, we got a glimpse of what Mr. McWonder would do, because that was a question that I had. What will Mr. McWonder do with his starters in a game 17? And of course, Mr. McWonder, Matty from the D, did not play. He was resting, but so was K-Will, and so was Soup, of course, as I would have expected. And Mr. McWonder played his whole offensive line, but he gave Higbee the day off. Okay, so what we saw was the Rams with their intact O-line, and I do believe, unless there's some unforeseen problem, that's what we'll see in the opening playoff game against Detroit. It's going to be at left tackle, Alaric Jackson, at left guard, the rookie who did a magnificent job this year, Steve Avila. You'll have Coleman Shelton, your center. He's been rock stable. You got Kevin Dotson. Dotson took that spot, and it is his spot, and he played rock solid at right guard. And then at right tackle, your staple is Havenstein. And you're going to see Higbee, of course, in the playoffs at tight end. You're going to see Matty from the D, of course, and K-Will, of course. And then you get that wide receiver stew, that wide receiver brew is going to be the Puka soup. That's what it's going to be. The Puka soup, the Demarcus Robinson, Puka Nacua, the record-breaking rookie, and Super Cup. And so that is your 11 personnel, and that's what it's going to look like in the playoffs. Now, for the San Francisco game, as I said, it was fluky with players in and out. And so on the broadcast on TV, they announced it would be Bryson Hopkins starting at tight end. And I said, whoa, I exclaimed out loud, wow, all right, yeah. Mr. McWonder has finally given Bryson Hopkins some run again, even if it is in a meaningless game. At least he let him start. You know, we haven't seen too much of Cousin Allen since all those blunders he had against New Orleans. And so I was happy with that report, and they said that Mr. Freeman was going to be at tailback. This is on the broadcast, but when Rams actually took over on offense, what I saw was, for their opening possession, what I saw was not Bryson Hopkins or Mr. Freeman. It was Ronnie Rivers at tailback. Okay, fine, but it was Cousin Allen starting at tight end. And I'm like, that's twice now where the broadcast team has been given the information that Bryson Hopkins was your backup tight end to Higbee. But it's not. He's been demoted below Cousin Allen. And that happened in New Orleans with Al Michaels, who called out Bryson Hopkins as your second tight end, and it's not the case. And it happened again this last broadcast up in San Francisco when they said that Bryson Hopkins would be starting at tight end in place of Higbee, and that was not the case. And so I'm like, why are they getting that misinformation? Why are they being led to believe that Bryson Hopkins is your backup when that's not the case? I don't know. I wonder myself. I mean, I'm certain that Mr. McWonder gives them the information. So why is he still suggesting that Bryson Hopkins is his two when he's not? And this game showed you once again why he should be. And they even talked about it in the game. And now let's just talk about it right now since we're on the subject. You know who the leading receiver was for the Rams in that San Francisco game? Do you? It was Bryson Hopkins. That's who it was. It was Bryson Hopkins. And he only had a couple catches, but he makes big catches. He gets downfield. He doesn't drop the ball. I don't understand how and why Bryson Hopkins got into McWonder's doghouse. I don't get it. Cousin Allen is not a better tight end than Bryson Hopkins. Cousin Allen, maybe he'll be a good player one of these days, but he makes too many mistakes. Okay? He doesn't have that explosive potential. Cousin Allen I think he had 4 or 5 catches, but they were for 2 or 3 yards apiece. I'll get to the numbers in a little bit. My point is, Bryson Hopkins, 2 catches, he's averaging 23, 24 yards a pop. He gives you dynamism. He gives you a dynamic quality in your offense. Bryson Hopkins does that Cousin Allen does not. And I like Higbee as your starter. That's fine. But when you spell Higbee, why don't you have Hopkins coming in? And they talked about it in the broadcast, how and I've said this myself, how Bryson Hopkins was heroic in the Super Bowl when Higbee got hurt and went down. Remember? Bryson Hopkins was making big plays. Why has he been demoted below Cousin Allen, Mr. McWonder? I suspect you may be watching. I hope you are, because I've got the key for you to win in Detroit. I'm going to give it to you. You know I am. Just stick around to the end of the broadcast. But here is the point. Bryson Hopkins gives you a playmaking and explosive quality that you are lacking with Cousin Allen. And so I understand that that's one of your projects or whatever, but this is what I've been talking about, play calling and personnel. And I want to say right here, I kept having it was a weird feeling as I watched the San Francisco game. I kept thinking, something seems off with this. And I couldn't put my finger on it quite at first. I kept thinking, what's wrong with McWonder? And I thought maybe it has to do with Carson Wentz. And I'll get to game balls and we'll talk about Mr. Wentz in just a bit. But I kept trying to figure out what is different today. And I learned after the game what it was. I found out what it was. Sean McGenius did not call this game. He was not the offensive play caller in San Francisco. Did you know that? I didn't. You know who called the game? Mike LaFleur, brother of the Green Bay head coach. LaFleur called the game. And I kept scratching my dome. Like, what is different about this game plan? The way the game is being called. Is it all because of Carson Wentz? No, it's because it wasn't McWonder. So, I'll just give you this one right out the bag now. In a victory, I'm giving out 3 game balls. That's the tradition, and I'm usually very reluctant to give one to anyone who is not on the field in the game. But every so often, I feel compelled to do so, and so this week, game ball, Mike LaFleur, game ball, sir. The play calling was magnificent. The way you shot Father Shanahan didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do because it wasn't McWonder. He's looking through the book. He wrote it, but he's looking through the book like this is out of character. And it wasn't McWonder's book, see? And so, Mike LaFleur, game ball. My other 2 game balls, since I'm giving them out now, might as well give them out. Carson Wentz, the Wentzer. Carson Wentz, game ball, sir. And we'll get to the numbers a little later. And also, game ball. I got to give out a game ball to someone who's gotten a few game balls already this season, but he gets another one from me for the San Francisco game, and that is none other than Puka Nacua. Game ball Puka for becoming the all-time leader in rookie receiving yards and catches. Congratulations on a magnificent season. He's a Pro Bowler, and everybody knows who Puka is now. And I love the way he plays. I love his game. And McGenius couldn't wait to get him out of the game once he broke those records. And so that's who gets my game balls for this dub against Father Shanahan. I mean, I just couldn't make any sense of it. And I kept saying, look at all of these quarterback runs, these design runs for the quarterback at Carson Wentz. Let me say, he looked great. First of all, you could see from the television how he's a big dude. Now, this is a big guy. He looked in shape. He looked ready to go. And he was up for the challenge. He dove into the game as he did the end zone at one point. And he threw, of course, the game-winning touchdown plus 2 for 2. From Wentz. And so it was Carson Wentz. Now, I'll tell you this. He looked very competent. And he looked extremely athletic. And so I'm sure he's going to be playing for somebody next year, even if it's in a backup capacity. I don't know. But he looked like somebody could probably use him. And if they don't, leave him with McWonder. McWonder will be, because Matty needs a good understudy. Okay? All right. I mean, going forward now, next year, because I believe everybody, the gang's all coming back next year. So Matty's going to need a good understudy. That ripping and bumbling was a failed experiment. For real, for real. I sat there on my couch. I sat there thinking, how could someone with past happiest call so many quarterback draws and run plays for the QB? It just didn't add up. And that's why. And did you see Mr. McWonder after the game hugging Father Shanahan in the middle of the field? He looked he was giddy. He was just delighted. He was hugging him, and he told him something for a good long time in his ear. And Father was like, calm down, McGenius. I'll see you in the postseason. But McGenius was happy, okay, to get that big gorilla off his back. Father Shanahan just been sitting on his back. And, he didn't call the plays, but he gets the dub. And with that dub, he now is the second most winningest coach in Rams history. So, congratulations all around. All right. And so as I say, I will not go into an in-depth game analysis this week. I'll save that. I'll have to give you an epic game analysis from this playoff game coming up. But I will say my takeaways from the San Francisco game, fluky as it was I like the glimpse I got of Tyler Johnson. He caught a touchdown. He looks like he's pretty smooth out there running his routes. So I'd like to see more of him, Mr. McWonder. I like that Fair McMuffins, finally, he actually ran with the ball. He actually returned a kick. Fair McMuffins, I think he got about a dozen yards on one return. And so when I saw that, I almost fell off the sofa. Look at Fair McMuffins catching and running the ball. He's got a little tiny bit of yak. Maybe he's trying to get well. I don't know. When you got no yak at all, that I believe that's a lifetime disorder. Anyway, takeaways. Did you see Stoney? Did you see him? Now when you got Soup out and your frontliners resting and that, you're gonna get more play for the guys deeper down on the bench. And so Stoney got some run out there, and I'll tell you what, Carson Wentz threw a long bomb, and Stoney, he got PI, pass interference penalty, interfered with him. It was a big game. And so, I see you, but I thought at the time, that defender must not know about those stone paws. He could have just let him run under it. And Tutu for two. I saw Tutu out there. He's blocking. He's running around. He's doing his thing. Beautiful. And as I say, honorable mention to Bryson Hopkins for keeping your head up, for, staying ready, even though for some reason it seems like you have been demoted. In my opinion, in my estimation, it seems as though you have a lot more you could offer if they would just let you play. And I've said this, I said it about the Demarcus Robinson. Why do you have him sitting on the bench behind Stoney and Fair McMuffins? Let that man play. And I'm telling you the same thing about Bryson Hopkins, and I've been saying it for a while now, and you know this. My final takeaway is that there seems to be a kicker shortage in the NFL somehow. I mean, it seems as though that there is a kick being missed every game, a point after, not just a long field goal. It's a lot of misses in the Rams. They have suffered from it more than any other team. And we've chronicled the various Band-Aids that McGenius has tried to apply to stop the bleeding, but it's not working. And you saw now, in this San Francisco game, you saw who is the real Brett Maher return after the horrific experience was dispatched from the palace. And who is returned after who is the real Brett Maher was dispatched from the palace for the horrific experience. And so it's a revolving door of bad kicking. And so now who is back, and well, wouldn't you know it, the extra point. Who is the real Brett Maher? Hooked it and missed it, and he's right back where he left off. And we saw what he did in the playoffs last year for them damn Cowboys. 4 missed kicks, 4 of them, 4 field goals, I believe it was. Did he have a missed extra point? It was awful. It was hard to watch. And now he's your field goal kicker going into the playoffs. Oh, boy. Mr. McWonder, you are living on the wild side, okay? And so, let's just look at these final numbers now. Carson Wentz, he was 17 of 24 for 163. That's 24 pass attempts. Now, if you've been watching previous episodes, you know that I created a principle just for Coach McGenius, the 25-30 principle. And I told him, I guaranteed him, I promised him, if you simply follow this principle, this simple rule, you will beat Father Shanahan. I said it. And what did he do when Father Shanahan came to L.A.? Father Shanahan threw the ball 25 times, ran the ball 25 times, and whooped him. And Coach McGenius threw the ball 44 times and ran it 13 and lost. I said, man, you until you adopt this principle I'm giving you, Father Shanahan is going to whoop you every damn time. 8 in a row, 9 in a row, 10 in a row. He's just going to keep whooping you. And so we see that Mr. McWonder will get credit for the win over Father Shanahan, but in fact, it was LaFleur who followed the principle. Let's look at the numbers now. Carson Wentz, 24 pass attempts. The 25-30 principle, straightforward. You want a minimum of 25 run plays and a maximum of 30 pass attempts. Very simple. Carson Wentz, 24 pass attempts. We say a maximum of 30. It was 24. Check. See how easy that is? 25-30 principle requires a minimum of 25 run plays. 25 carries on the ground, minimum. What did the Rams do in San Francisco? Well, Ronnie Rivers had 13 carries, a 4.0 yard per carry average. Zach Evans got 1 tote for 3. Mr. Freeman, 4 carries. Tutu got a carry, but he lost yards. But that right there is 17, 18, 19. But wait, the quarterback, Carson Wentz, your leading rusher, 17 carries for the quarterback, 17 design runs for 56 yards and a touchdown. That's 36 run plays. 25-30 principle, 25 carries minimum. They had 36. LaFleur passes, 30 maximum. They had 24. Check, and you win, like I told you, like I promised you. And I believe now, if Mr. McWonder was calling that game, they lose that game because he probably wouldn't do this. So that's why LaFleur gets the game ball. He followed the 25-30 principle to perfection. And as I guaranteed them, they won. And then let's look at Father Shanahan, because see, Father Shanahan, he does this he rolls out of bed doing this. It's nothing. It's like breathing for Father. Well, Sam Darnold, 16 to 26 for 189 and a touchdown. So 26 pass attempts. Well, he's under 30, check. And what about carries? 14, 6, 7, 1, 1, 29. Father Shanahan rolls out of bed on the 25-30 principle. He kept his quarterback's attempts to under 30, 26. He had a minimum of 25 rushes, 29 actually. So he nailed it, but he wasn't expecting McWonder to nail it. Well, McWonder's proxy, LaFleur, nailed it. And they won, as I told you they would. So congratulations to the Rams. And that is the point I need to make right here and right now, that if you want to win in the playoffs, you need your defense. You need your special teams. But the key to it all, coach, is you. have to apply balance. You must implement the 25-30 principle, and you will win. I promise you. And we'll chop it up on the other side after the game, and we'll see if, in fact, you heeded this dire warning from the outskirts of the city. Because if you don't, if you go out there and you want Maddie to chuck it with your past happiest condition, if you do that, I promise you, you will be eliminated. Maddie from the D will leave poltergeist soil all over the turf. Okay? I guarantee it. You have an exceptional running back, Kyron Williams. Use him. A minimum of 25 carries, Mr. McWonder, if you want to win in Detroit. And the reason that it's so important is because you're deficient in other areas. Your defense, I believe, is playing fine. I'm not going to begrudge the defense. Shout out Raheem Morris, AD 99, all those kids over there. The defense, they keep you in the game. But your special teams, oh boy, that is your Achilles heel for sure, for sure. For absolute positive, that is where most likely you're going to meet your demise unless you are balanced and patient and dedicated and committed to the run game. So now let's quickly look ahead at the playoffs. Let's look ahead at the playoffs and what is in store. Well, my folks, it's going to be delectable, delicious, delightful, lovely. and I'm going to give you my picks. You know, I've got to do that. But I have to say now, nobody knows the golfer like McWonder. If anybody knows him, McWonder knows him. It is the primetime highlight playoff game of the weekend for good reason. And so let's just go quickly down the comparison list. The way I see it, at quarterback, you got Matty from the D and the golfer. I'm going to roll with Matty from the D. Check. At tight end, Laporta, they don't know if he's going to play. Higbee's rolling. Check. At wide receiver, listen, I've gone on record. I've said this. I think the Rams have the best starting wide receiver trio in the NFL. There is no better trio than Soup, Puka, and TDR. Okay? Check. I like the Rams' offensive line. Okay? I don't have enough information about the Detroit offensive line to really say one way or the other. I'll call it a push, but you can see now on the offensive side of the ball, the Rams have all the checks. And then you got Mr. McWonder. Even though the kneecap biter isn't calling plays, you got Mr. McWonder on the offensive play calling side. I give Mr. McWonder the credit. I give him the blame when it's deserved, but I give him the credit. And so I'm going to say check there too. So it's all Rams so far. Now, in fairness, Detroit has the number 3 ranked offense in all the NFL. It's ranked 3rd. According to ESPN, and that's the NFL team total offensive stats for 2023. Detroit is the 3rd best offense in the NFL, according to this, and the Rams rank 7th. So Detroit on paper is a better offense. I'll take K. Will over Montgomery, their running back. I'll take K. Will over any running back in the NFL. Okay, so I'm going to go with K. Will in terms of my running back. And so that's a check. So for me, I give the Rams the check on offense. It's about a push on defense because the Rams are ranked 20th in total defense in the NFL in 2023. Detroit was ranked 19th. So they're one below each other. 19 for Detroit, 20 for the Rams in terms of total defensive ranking. So that's pretty close to a push. And so you can see where I'm leaning with this. Now, where the problem comes in now, special teams and turnovers. Now, with special teams, well, Detroit is number 19 in the NFL on the season in special teams. The Rams were 32, dead last. Dead last. They got fair McMuffins, no yak at all. And they've got this awful kicking game situation, even though I think Evans is pretty good. But their special teams, you've seen it. You saw what happened in Baltimore. You saw the Giants do it to them. So the special teams, captained by, maybe that's just coincidence, they're a wreck. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Detroit bust off one on the Rams or take advantage on special teams, because that's a clear advantage they have. They're, everybody's better than the Rams on special teams. Now, when it comes to takeaways, giveaways, turnovers, well, Detroit is ranked 16th in the NFL. In the 2023 season, the Rams were ranked 21st. And there's a lot of ways to dig into those numbers. I mean, honestly, overall, the Rams, the way that ranking is compiled is they take how many times you took it away versus how many times it was taken away from you, and then the differential leads to your ranking. So the Rams were a -3. They only had 15 takeaways. In fact, that's among the lowest of all the remaining teams in the playoffs. Conversely, though, the Rams only had a total of 18 giveaways. Well, 13 of them were poltergeist strikes, but only 5 fumbles. And so that is among the best in all the playoff field. 18 giveaways is second, not third. It's third. This is Wildcard weekend picks. There's 6 games. Cleveland at Houston. I went back and forth about this one. I think it's going to be a great game. And I was leaning towards Cleveland because of living spaces. Joe Flacco off the sofa, balling out of his mind, and that defense that they have, Cleveland does. They've had some injuries to the ground game, but I just was leaning Cleveland. But as I was doing my research, I came upon some interesting nuggets. For example, Houston, they have the number 1 special teams unit in the NFL, in the entire NFL. Number 1. They're disciplined. Houston doesn't turn the ball over. In fact, Houston is in the top 10, number 8 in turnover, takeaway, giveaway margin. They have a plus 10 takeaway, giveaway margin. It's a better takeaway, giveaway margin than the Cleveland Browns. So they have better special teams. They don't turn the ball over. They have a better takeaway, giveaway margin than the Browns. It will be at home. And I'll tell you what, I really like CJ Stroud. He's amazing. So poised. I mean, a rookie now, to do what he's doing. So calm, effortless it almost seems, and yet dazzling results. I like him a lot. And so even though Puka set records and, he had a historic season, I gotta give Offensive Rookie of the Year to CJ Stroud, because he's a quarterback. You know how it is. and they're in the playoffs. You know how it is. And so I like Houston. I like CJ Stroud. And that is who I recommend for Coach of the Year. It's the coach of the Texans. It is DeMeco Ryans. I think a rookie head coach. Now think about it. A rookie head coach with great special teams. They're disciplined. They don't turn the ball over. A rookie quarterback. And they won the division. They're hosting a playoff game. And so, yes, despite my trepidation, I'm going to pick the Houston Texans in that first wild card game. So we'll see how that. I might be setting myself up right off the bat. You know, they say follow your first mind, but I'm going to go with Coach of the Year, DeMeco Ryans, and Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud, and the Houston Texans to whoop up on Cleveland. Cleveland, this is for you. And the second game, which I think is a rip that you only can watch it on. See, this streaming business, and they're fragmenting how you can watch the games, and now you've got to stream this to see that. So you can only see the Miami KC game if you stream it on, was it Peacock? I shouldn't be doing advertisements for the enemy. Since I got I'm not going to watch it, actually, is what it is, because I don't currently subscribe, and I'm not going to just for that game. But in the past, you could always see all the playoff games, and you see where this is going now. They put you over the barrel and extract from you, squeeze you, see. Commerce, this is how it is. It's all about the dollar, And so the game that I won't get to see, the playoff game that I will not get to see, thank you, NFL, and the greedy conglomerates and whatnot, for that game, it's going to be in KC. It's supposed to be bitterly cold, and Miami, they've shown themselves to be a flash and dash team. And, KC's got that championship type pedigree. I'm going to go with Kansas City over Miami in that game. And then Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I was tempted to go with Pittsburgh in an upset. Super impressed with the job Mike Tomlin did with little to nothing. Now that's someone who I think is deserving of Coach of the Year recognition, who may have done their finest coaching performance. Because he had nothing, as they love to say, he had nothing to work with. And he got them in the playoffs, and I believe they had 10 wins. And I like them, and I was tempted because Buffalo has shown themselves to be susceptible to a lot of mistakes. And namely, a lot of interceptions, about a QB. But I came to learn that Pittsburgh was not in the top 16 in the NFL in offense, whereas Buffalo is number 4. That's a mismatch. And then on the defensive side, Pittsburgh was not in the top 20 in defense. And Buffalo was number 9. So Buffalo is number 4 in offense in the NFL on the season. And number 9 in defense in the NFL on the season. And Pittsburgh doesn't make either cut. That's a lot to try to overcome. And I don't know how they would overcome it. Well, there's only one way, and that's if Josh Allen just has a plumb stanker and soils up the field with pick after pick after poltergeist strike. And that could happen. But I'm just not going to be able to pick that to happen. And so I will go with Buffalo to eliminate Pittsburgh. And then we get to the Sunday games in the NFC, and that's what I'm talking about. And so the first one, Green Bay, Dallas. Oh, well, I don't like them damn Cowboys. They're overrated. There's so much bloat with the Cowboys. At people who they've built a cottage industry on just talking about them damn Cowboys all day, every day. Like sniff. And so I've come to not really view them super fondly, especially when every year they're predicted and projected to be great and every year they're not. And for the better part of 2, nearly 3 decades, they've been unable to even make the playoffs. Well, win a game. You know, they always fall and fold. And I predict they will fall and fold this year too. Except not against Green Bay. Now, I thought about it. Green Bay poses some interesting challenges, but I just think in the grand scheme of things, I think Dallas will present too much at home for Green Bay to overcome. They just got in the playoffs as a 7 seed. I tell you what, if they could upset Dallas, oh boy, that would be like a thunderclap that would reverberate for a long time around the NFL circles. And I'd be quite delighted to see it. But I can't predict it. And so Dallas, they have the number 5 ranked offense in the NFL. And then when it comes to their defense, they have the number 5 ranked defense in the NFL. Well, that's pretty good. You got the number 5 offense and you got the number 5 defense. So I think in the end it would probably just be too much to expect that Green Bay could take them out. But I'll be rooting for them, on the underdog tip. And then, of course, that brings us to our game. Well, let me quickly tell you about the Monday night game. It's Philly at Tampa Bay. That's an interesting one, too. All these games are interesting. The Philly-Tampa Bay game, wow. Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay's the only NFC playoff team that's not in the top 16 in offense in the NFL. Yeah. Now, Philly, number 8 in the NFL this season. They were number 8, and Tampa Bay wasn't in the top 16. Well, in defense, neither Philly nor Tampa Bay was in the top 20 in defense. And the thing is, it just seems like Philly is just falling apart at the seams, collapsing. And so it looks like they're about due to be put out their misery. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay over Philly, which gets us to our game, the game, the delectable morsel of the weekend. LA Rams at Detroit Lions. Let me give you the data. The Rams, number 20 in defense, number 19 Detroit. So they're right there, as I mentioned, side by side. In offense, well, the Rams are number 7. That's pretty good. Number 7 in the NFL. But hey, Detroit was number 3. Number 3. And then in turnovers, well, let's take a look now. In turnover differential, Detroit was number 16. LA was 21. And we know they're better than them special teams wise. That's a given. When you look at the raw data, it looks very much like Detroit is a better team on paper, even though I've gone over the offensive checklist with you. It's sort of a heart versus head thing too, because as I've chronicled in episodes past, I do believe the Rams are going to be exposed in the postseason where the teams are good with these deficiencies that they have on special teams and their play callers' tendencies to meander away from the ground game. Sometimes he just bolts away from it. And so, you got a quarterback who will chuck it to the wrong people. You've got a play caller who is afflicted by pass happiness. You've got all sorts of problems on your special teams. I think this game is going to be really close, and I think it's going to be a good one. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of these issues the Rams have proved to be their undoing. But I'm going to pick the LA Rams in a squeaker by two. By two. And it might end up being on a missed field goal. But it won't be the Rams that lose, I'm going to say. And so there you have my picks, my folks. We'll chronicle it on the other side and see how I did. Okay? And so, my friends, let's just wrap up this episode right here. Another epic episode in the books. And so what I need from you, what I need you to do is throw me one of these. All right? Throw me one. Now, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. How do you like my picks? And then I'll see you on the other side of the Rams-Detroit playoff game. And so until the next time, which you know won't be too long from this time, Scotty says, one love. Enjoy the game.